Hello and a warm welcome. My name is Ralf Hanacek. I work at the DLR Projektträger, and I would like to give you a short introduction in a very new and very innovative mobility scheme, which is the Western Balkan Mobility Scheme. This is addressing early career researchers in the Western Balkans. It's open until the 31st May of this year, so it's 2024. And as you might already see on my slide, my first one, the name Policy Answers. Although I work at the DLR Projektträger, this is not an original DLR Projektträger scheme, but we have been responsible at DLR for, well, the preparation of this mobility scheme together with our partners from the Western Balkans. And from this project, and this project is named Policy Answers. This is a project which is funded by the European Commission. And the aim of this project is to monitor and to support the policy coordination within the EU Western Balkan cooperation. But it also provides capacity building and pilot activities in the Western Balkans to contribute to the region's EU integration process. And this Western Balkan Mobility Scheme is exactly one of these pilot measures. So what is all about with this mobility scheme? The overall aim is to support the sustainable economic growth and the societal resilience and the convergence of the Western Balkans with the European Union by fostering regional cooperation and sustained support in mobility-driven R&I. So this is a very broad goal, very strategic and political one. And we try to reach this aim with three more technically speaking objectives of the scheme. The first one would be to foster the brain circulation and encourage brain retain within the Western Balkans already at a very early stage of the researcher's career. The second objective would be to support the excellence in research in the Western Balkans. And the third one would be to promote and increase the open access use of research infrastructure across the Western Balkans. And as I already mentioned in the beginning, this is a pilot activity, which means it should build the ground for a bigger follow-up of this mobility scheme. And this then should be funded by regional or international stakeholders or even by donors from the economy level. So now we already know what it's all about, but how to achieve these aims concretely. So how do these projects should look like if they could be funded? Each of the projects which finally should be selected for funding must cover three aspects. The first one would be that it has to deal with short-term mobility as a physical presence of the grantee, of the early career researcher, for a duration of between 2 weeks and 2 months within another Western Balkan economy. So it's only a regional, well, I won't say only, but it's in the heart of this mobility scheme to be regional, not to support researchers from the Western Balkans going to the European Union, but to, as I just mentioned, to support the brain retain within the region. The second aspect would be the use of so-called specialized equipment or facilities. This is a research infrastructure, which I already mentioned, in another Western Balkan country. And the third aspect would be all this should be done to do research. So it's not about training or capacity building. This could be a side effect, but the core, the heart of this project should lie in doing research. All thematic research areas are eligible, which means also that social science and humanities would be eligible. So it's very broad that each of you early career researchers would be eligible according to the topic in which you are interested and in which you are doing and performing your research. I like to name also that applications that address the twin transition, the green and digital, and priorities mentioned in economy level research strategies or in the smart specialization strategies are particularly welcome. These, I think, are very, very important political and strategical approaches and papers. And of course, they should, if possible, also reflect in this mobility scheme. I come now to an empty clarification, but it's more some kind like a definition. I already mentioned the early career researchers. What do we mean exactly with this? We have two groups which are eligible in this context. These are, on the one hand, the PhD students, and on the other hand, the so-called postdocs, whose doctorate was awarded no longer than 7 years before the deadline of the call. These two groups are eligible to submit an application. And another definition is very important, the definition of research infrastructure. Here we deal with a very broad one given by the European Commission, and the European Commission says that a research infrastructure is a set of facilities, resources, and services like laboratories, data centers, and equipment and archives that are used by the research communities to conduct research and foster innovation in their respective fields. So it's a very, very broad definition in order to, make all these equipments and research infrastructures already existing in the Western Balkans eligible, which are already known sometimes, but also in each case, or in most cases, very heavily underused. And so the idea is to access these opportunities and possibilities to foster your career and your research in the Western Balkans. So now we come to the question of money. There is an overall budget of 100,000 euro as a total budget for all of the grants for the whole Western Balkan Mobility Scheme. We have a maximum project duration between 2 weeks and 6 months. This is a bit different from the specifications for the stay, where I mentioned 2 weeks to 2 months. Why is it like this? So we have 4 months additional ones at the end of the project as an option. It's not an obligation for you. And we designed it like this so that you also have the opportunity to exploit the results of your stay and that you can go for paper or whatever. So this is also a very important point, how you, deal with the results. We have a maximum amount of 5,000 euro per grant. This is also balanced with the amount of the stay or the amount of days of the stay, the duration. As eligible cost, we have 3 positions. We have travel cost and living allowances as unit costs. So this is a clear function of the number of days you spend abroad. So it's very easy to calculate and very transparent. And then we have the position of all those costs which occur at the host institution during your stay. This could be accession fees, consumables, whatever, depends on the current situation. And we have a third cost position or category, which are costs for the exploitation of the project, as I just mentioned some seconds ago. So the call is open on, until the end of May, the 31st of May, and we opened it up last week at the 28th of March. And the projects are expected to start after the summer break. I assume maybe by the 1st of October and then later, but all projects must be terminated by the 31st of May next year. This is due to the fact that this pilot measure is, of course, embedded in the policy answer project. We need time to evaluate it, to formulate policy recommendations and all that stuff. And so we have a clear end of time for all of these projects. We also try to make the application process as easy and as hassle-free as possible for you as potential applicants, which would mean that there are no signatures of legal representatives of any institution involved necessary, neither of your home institution nor of your host institution, the one you're dealing with in the other country, where there are also the research infrastructure nearby. We designed it in that way that we do need only up to 4 pages as a project description. So everything we try to make it according to the amount we give with the 5,000 euro, and also that it should be as easy as possible. Of course, finally, we will need some signatures. from the legal representatives of the involved institution, but then it would be at the level of the funding contract. That means only in the case that you are selected for funding, but not on the level of the application. Well, I hope this short introduction, this short talk, you enjoyed it and you're motivated maybe to ask for more information. We have lots of them. We have a project website. You see at the bottom of this last slide, it's a Western Balkans-infohub.eu, where we have a dedicated section to this Western Balkans Mobility Scheme. You will find there the call text, which is a legal document for also then the funding contracts, where you have lots of information on this call, everything which is necessary to know. You will also find there the guide for applicants, which has two sections. The first one would be like FAQs, frequently asked questions. The second section is dealing with screenshots from the application tool. It's a call management system at DLR, so that you are able also to get an impression what information concretely you have to fill in and how it looks like, even without log into and to register to this call management system. And we also provide you with some more information on potential research infrastructure. So research infrastructure which could be of interest for you if you're looking for an appropriate one for your mobility project. So all this you can find at this website. In case this still does not answer your question, of course, you're very welcome at addressing us, my dear colleague Katharina Lehmeyer and me, Ralf Vanacek, at the DLR. You can here also find in the middle of the slide our email address. It's calls-europe.dlr.de, and you can send us an email, and then we would be happy to assist you in in answering your questions. Well, I wish you all the best, and of course, I wish you also a very successful application phase.